What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to episode 35 of the Codec, our interview with Josh Keaton. How you doing today, sir?
I'm doing well, guys. How are you?
We're
Fantastic.
really
Super
Awesome.
excited to have you here today. As I was telling you prior to the start of the interview, we started off with Metal Gear with David Hayter, our first interview. We're ending with the young Ocelot from Metal Gear Solid 3, David's favorite game in the Metal Gear Solid franchise, and such a beloved character, so we're glad to have you on here. But we can't discredit the fact that you're in like a ton of other stuff as well.
Exactly.
So we got a lot to talk about today.
Sweet.
We're excited to have you here. Joined as always by KorruptRonin.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? KorruptRonin here, and thank you, Josh, for joining us. It is an honor to be here and talk to you about a lot of your current games and a lot of your past games as well. So hopefully, if you still have those in memory, this will be a pretty fun interview. And
I'll
thanks
do my best.
And thanks to the wonderful audience here that we have today. And thank you guys for all the support and the love that you give us about these interviews. It definitely goes a long way in keeping us doing this. So we always appreciate that.
Exactly. So we have Yong Ya with us today as well.
What's up, everybody? It's Yong here, and welcome to our interview with Josh Keaton. I've got to say, you're pretty good, and we're very happy to have you here. Young Ocelot, oh man, he's just, he's such a blast. He made this game so special for me. And, whoa, your profile picture just came up, and it's a very interesting picture indeed. And but no, we're just happy to have you here. A lot of people have been really anticipating this interview, and it's gonna be a blast. So stay tuned, people.
Awesome. Yong, you actually have the first question for Josh today, so go ahead and take it away, buddy.
Sure thing. So to start off this interview, can you just tell us a bit about yourself? Who's Josh Keaton, and what events led up to you eventually becoming a voice actor?
Well, Josh Keaton is basically I started in the business when I was a little kid, man. I'm a former child actor. I'm a survivor of the child acting industry, I guess. I have three sisters, and we all grew up in the industry, all doing various things within it. You know, singing and acting, dancing. You know, a little bit of everything. And so, yeah, basically with voiceover, I didn't start out doing voiceover as my end goal. It was another thing. It was another facet of the entertainment industry that I was already kind of a part of. But when I was young, there really weren't a lot of roles for young voice artists or there weren't a lot of voiceover roles for kids in general because, you know, they usually use adults and that are playing kids. That's actually changed a lot now. They're using a lot more young people in roles now, but back then that wasn't the case. And there were a few things here and there, like I did the voice of Linus in Peanuts for a little bit, and that they insisted on having actual kids. But other than that, there really wasn't a lot. You know, there were a few shows like Peter Pan and the Pirates and the Back to the Future animated series, and those I basically just got sent out on by my on-camera agent. You know, they would send me out for kind of everything, and if there was something where they were looking for a kid for a voiceover, they would send me out for that. But other than that, it was really more me trying to do on-camera stuff, and then yeah, I mean, I went through a bunch of things, man. When I was in my teenage years, I was in a boy band and toured the world and all of that.
That's awesome. Do you have a name for that band?
Yeah, it was called No Authority, and the album that I was on, yeah, it's awesome. But the album that I was on is called Don't Stop, and there's still a video that's out on YouTube, and you could see me, you know, pouting and not smiling, and you know, all the things and reaching towards the camera, you know, getting that fisheye lens angle and all the things that good boy banders do.
Okay.
But yeah, so I mean, I did that, and I did a lot of guest star stuff here and there, and I always did a little bit of VO here and there, but it actually, the writer's strike, I don't know if you guys remember that.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Kind of gave birth to that thing we call reality TV.
Wow,
But
yeah.
I mean, when the writer's strike happened, a lot of opportunities for actors that weren't already celebrities kind of dried up, and I was kind of stuck at an agent. Like, my agent basically the guy that was representing me at my agency just got married and took off. He moved, he quit the business. And so I was at this agency that I really didn't have like a like a champion at. And so I was just kind of hanging there. But at the same time, I started getting some really good VO roles. This is when a lot more cinema and video stuff was happening in video games. And so, that was a whole new industry that I had never even really been a part of. Metal Gear was actually one of my earliest games, that and Psychonauts, a couple others. But I mean, that was kind of the beginning of my VO career in that sense. And before I knew it, I had gotten so busy with VO that I hadn't done on camera for years. And I've started doing some more of it again because I still enjoy it. But I actually really enjoy mocap now as well, because it kind of feeds that same animal, where and it's actually I actually love mocap because it's as bare bones acting as you can get. Like, it's really just the actors and your imagination, and that's it. But yeah, so I mean that's pretty much been the transition. I started as a little precocious kid doing an Oshkosh commercial, and then kind of went up the ranks, and here I am in VO and loving it.
That's awesome. And what's the story behind how you got to play the role of Ocelot for Snake Eater? And did you know the series prior to auditioning for the role?
I actually didn't know the series. This was the first two. I mean, I knew of it, but I hadn't played the games because this was right after the boy band thing. So I missed out on a lot of games because I was just constantly touring, and didn't really have a lot of time to play anything. Which kind of that was a bummer for me because I've always been a gamer and I've always loved playing games. But there are definitely these big black holes in my gaming experiences where I'm now just going back and I still have my old system, so I'm like, what old game can I play now that I haven't played before? Because why not? And I mean, it was really just an audition that came through like any other audition. I audition mostly from home. I'm in my booth right now, and this is where I usually audition from. But back then, I would actually have to go into my agent's booth and do the read from there. And so, I auditioned for that, and it was directed by Chris Zimmerman, who I've actually known since I was about 9 years old.
Oh, wow.
When I was like 9, oh, no, maybe 10, but 9 or 10. Yeah, it's all the same. But when I was a kid, she had this voiceover class with this guy named Charlie Adler, who's also a very, very famous VO artist and voice director.
He was telling us about that.
Yeah, and they had this class, and they were very specific about it being adults only. But my parents were like, well, no, I mean, he really wants to do this, and, why, you sure you can't take a kid? And Chris was like, Charlie has a very foul mouth. And my mom's like, oh, it's probably not anything worse than he's heard his dad say. Well, I got it. And they finally relented. They let me into the class. And it was a lot worse than everything I had ever heard my dad say. Like, a lot worse. But, I mean, all of my colorful language, I think I got from that class. And I had to be very careful when and where to use it, because, a 12-year-old saying all these things is probably not the best thing. Or awesome, depending on what your point of view is.
Exactly.
But, so, I mean, I took that class, and Chris and I and Charlie and I have been friends ever since. And I always look forward to the times that I get to work with them. But yeah, I mean, it was such a treat to actually be cast in it, because again, it was one of my earlier video game roles, and I was super excited just as a gamer at the fact that now you have all this cinematic experience in games, and you can actually tell a story with acting and all of that. I was like, this is freaking cool, And so, I mean, that was great. So getting in to the sessions and getting to play this guy and it was kind of freeing because I really didn't know anything about the series yet. So it was really just, she wanted him to be cocky. She wanted him to, it was really just stripped down bare bones. And also the fact that it was kind of an earlier version of him before he is the Ocelot that we know now. It really kind of was starting at zero.
Like
so,
a clean slate. Yeah.
Exactly. And so it was freeing in that sense. But it wasn't until after the game came out that I really realized how huge of a fan base the series has. Like, it's crazy. I'll talk about the boy band again, but I mean, I think I've gotten more fan mail from Metal Gear fans than I ever did as a member of a freaking boy band. I mean, maybe I just wasn't the guy, but
no, the Metal Gear community is definitely a passionate one.
Crazy, yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah. It's really cool though. It's really cool.
It's funny because it really doesn't matter, at least in the terms of Metal Gear, how big or small your character is. We've had characters who literally have never had an on-screen appearance that are just on the the messaging codec system, and they're just big stars like Heather Haley and some of the other ones that we've had on here. But I had a quick question for you. It ties in with Young's. When you got the part, did you get to go back and watch Chris's husband's performance from the other games and kind of see what you had to live up to?
I didn't because I didn't before I did it because I didn't want to like psych myself out. But afterwards I did, and I was like, oh, okay, cool. Oh, sweet. And I loved what he did. And even though the dialect and stuff is different, like I could totally see where the two would fit in and all that. So I mean I dug it. I thought it was really cool.
Yeah, I thought, I mean, when I first played the game, I was like, wow, this is kind of how I imagined young Ocelot to be. Right. I didn't feel like this was a different character. It truly felt like just a younger, cockier, just more flamboyant, just young-spirited version of that character we knew and loved. And that was just really cool. And despite not having seen Patrick's performance, it sort of tied in really well, which is impressive.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which I think speaks volumes for, I think, both your performance as well as, I think, Chris's direction,
absolutely.
who I've heard really nails the direction and helps the actors.
They all love Chris.
Yeah.
Yeah, Chris knows what she wants, and Chris knows exactly how to get it. Like I've worked with her on a bunch of stuff. I'm actually working with her on a show right now that I can't talk about, but we worked together on Mad Max. Yes. And that was actually one of the most fun characters I think I've ever played. Jeet.
I think we're going to talk about him in just a little bit.
Yeah, okay, sweet. So I'll
definitely
back on that one. Yeah.
All right, Ronan, you're up, buddy.
All right, so me personally, I have to say I was a little disappointed in the Phantom Pain to not hear Ocelot's signature call for Metal Gear Solid 3. Now, I know, of course, that he's older and wiser, so that kind of thing, he wouldn't be doing that kind of thing now, right?
Sure.
Well, that is a good point. But I'm curious, just whose idea was that from the start? Was that something that you threw in, or was that the direction from Chris? How did that come about?
Which one? The Mew?
Yes, that one.
Yes. That was me. It was that. I think that was a Chris thing. I think Chris just did it, and we all had a laugh in the studio, and it made it into the game. So
that is awesome.
Yeah. It's funny because some of the silliest stuff and some of the weirdest antics that you do in the booth end up making it into the game, and those are the things people remember. And I've had so many people ask me about that, and we're asking, was that just a sound effect or whatever? I'm like, no, that was my Mew. that was me doing my Ocelot scream.
Was that part of the script? Like, did Kojima write?
It actually was.
Meows?
No,
Oh, wow.
It was.
Jeez.
Yeah. No, that was. It was. Kojima had it in the script.
Oh. Wow.
And it was just. I saw it there, and I was like, all right, let's do it.
Why not?
That's great.
Did you nail it on the first time, or did you have
multiple
takes on it? Yeah.
No, there was just one take because I was laughing too hard afterwards.
Great. That's great. Yeah, Chris has told us about some of the stuff that goes on there. I don't know if you're familiar with the played you like a damn fiddle thing that's been going around here with Metal Gear Solid 5, but she was telling us that, once they leave the voice actor's mouth, they become iconic, and that was definitely
as they're leaving the mouth.
Yeah, exactly. Sometimes stuff that isn't even intended just becomes canon right there.
Awesome. Ronan, did you have anything else to add to that?
No, that was answered fantastically. So we can move on with that one.
All right. So my question for you, Josh, is what was the process for figuring out how Ocelot would sound in this game? Did you play around with different voices and settle on one particular one, or did you bounce ideas off of Chris, or did she kind of direct your voice into what it needed to be?
Well, actually, that pretty much just was my voice at the time. I was I was a kid who was probably way too cocky for his own good, and I probably shared a lot of that Ocelot. Just I wouldn't say stuck on. I wasn't stuck on myself, but I mean. Right. when you're a teenager or just out of being a teenager, you're a cocky mofo, and you know, you're just peacocking everywhere. You know, you go out everywhere, you're advertising, you know, you're doing your thing, and it's like that's kind of who I was, and that's
awesome.
probably why she cast me, because it was just like she didn't really have to push and pull me that much.
Right.
It was there were some times where she wanted me to be cocky-er. Where and that was something that I would have to push a bit, because, you know, as much as I was cocky, I was also still like, oh, but am I gonna sound stupid, or is that gonna be too much or whatever? And
Right.
you know, it wasn't. So it
Awesome.
yeah. But in terms of vocal tone and quality, that's just what I sounded like.
That's great. That's very cool. Young, your next question for Josh.
Yeah. So one of the things that makes Ocelot such a wild card is that you never really know which side he's on. So throughout your recording sessions in Snake Eater, how much of the character's true intentions were you made aware of? And do you think that knowing that helped out, if you were made aware of these things, do you think that helped out with your performance to add certain nuances to maybe hint that he knew more than he was letting on, or anything like that? Or what's the story behind that?
I would have to say that in this case they played me like a fiddle, because well, for one thing, whenever you're doing a video, well, it's changed a little bit now. Now you get a lot more script and all that, but actually, no, you know what? It's still that's still the exception to the rule. You really don't have a lot of context for anything when you're recording a video game,
Right.
unless it's like some of the Lego games that I've done have been very different, where you actually get a full script, and they're kind of played out like movies where, you know, you get everything and you know what's going to happen. But for the most part in this game, like I got my scenes there when I got to the session, so everything was pretty much a cold read. And so and yeah, I wasn't really given a lot of background or anything in terms of what the greater aims of the character were, or what how this person fit into this. I mean, I had to ask questions and stuff, but even then it was more about, I think Chris kind of had it. Chris had everything in her head, and you know, obviously Kojima did as well, of what was going to happen. So they used their knowledge to kind of push and pull me to get what they needed, but they didn't really tell me a whole lot in terms of what was actually happening. So I was pretty much just flying by the seat of my pants. And I actually think it kind of works, because if the fact that you don't know what Ocelot is necessarily thinking, or what his intentions are, or who he's really allied to or not allied to, or playing or not playing, like the fact that I myself didn't know, and there's a lot of that plausible deniability where I'm able to basically act this way just because I truly believe that this is this, when my intentions could be totally different, and I don't even know them as an actor.
Right.
So I was manipulated, but I mean, it works. It ended up working out for the character.
Yeah, that's a very similar notion that we get from all the other actors who have worked on Metal Gear. They really just get the pieces right there on that day, and just don't get a lot of context until, you know, they ask some of the questions. And even then, you know, because Kojima's so secretive about his story, because it's such a big part of the Metal Gear series.
It really is like you're on some freaking classified mission, and you are it's need to know only, and you get this amount of information so that you execute your task, you do your job, and then the mission continues on as planned, and you're just kind of a cog in that machine.
Right.
It's funny how without necessary, I mean, I don't know, maybe that is Kojima's master plan, but it's just interesting to me how it almost plays out like a military operation, where everybody just gets just enough information to do what they need to do, and that's it.
Yeah, that is very interesting. And did you get to learn more about Ocelot after you finished the recording sessions? Maybe after the game came out, did you get to learn a bit more about the character and his intentions? Maybe see how all your performances got sort of pieced together?
Oh yeah, because every actor always goes through and says, "Oh, I want to see the cinema scenes now, so I can actually see how it turned out," or whatever. And not to mention, there's no shortage of fan theories and things to read through. So I mean, it's there's always ways to find out more and really get a more boiled down version of the storyline. And that was something that I definitely did after the fact.
Very cool.
Very cool.
Oh wow.
Ronin, you are up, sir.
All right, so Josh, if we can recall back this far, you were Ryu Hayabusa in Ninja Gaiden 2.
Yes.
One of my favorite games of the previous generation of consoles.
And that's a hard game too. Man.
Just playing it.
Definitely. I died at least about like 2 or 3 times before we started this interview. So that was right on.
That's a really difficult game.
Yeah, it is. It was known for being difficult at the time. One of the hardest games available at that time when it came out too.
I dig that though, because like growing up, the games were hard. I mean, you had one life. You didn't start right where you died. You had to do the level over again. And I mean, shit was hard.
And that was what brought me to it, was the fact that it was difficult to begin with, right? So I was totally all for that. But my question is for Ryu, like we didn't really have a lot of context about what kind of character he was. So I'm curious about what the direction was like for you when trying to establish a voice for this character.
Well, I mean, I played the stand-up machines, the old Ninja Gaidens. And,
nice.
I mean, I always had the image in my head. The one thing that I would always think of when I was thinking of Ninja Gaiden was the continue screen, where like he's like strapped to the table and the circular saw is coming down. And you don't put in the quarter to save. It is, man. But it was awesome. Like that was the one thing I always remembered, and I loved playing that game in the arcade. But I mean, he wasn't really voiced much in that, aside from some battle sounds and stuff.
Right.
I mean, I really just. For that, I wanted him to just be. I saw Ryu as somebody that didn't really say anything he didn't need to say,
right?
And everything is going to be very stoic and just like a ninja. He's not. He doesn't talk unnecessarily, and everything that he says is what has to be said and nothing more. And the script kind of lends itself to that.
Absolutely. I almost kind of saw like. The following game, Ninja Gaiden 3, they kind of went, I would say, in my opinion, went too far with this idea. But I almost kind of seen him like the Batman in Japan, almost in a way.
I can see that.
The dialogue,
sure.
Yeah. But like I said, the third game, they kind of went a little too far with that, to the point where it didn't make a whole lot of sense. But the way you handled that in Ninja Gaiden 2 was fantastic, and I really enjoyed.
Thank you, man. Appreciate
the voice you lent to that, and then of course the game on top of that, which is a really nice mix. So
very cool.
Awesome.
I want to switch gears a little bit, Josh, and talk about a cult classic people love. Let's talk a little bit about Psychonauts. How was working on a game like that? What were your kind of reaction to it kind of blowing up and being the little cult hit that it was? And may we see you in Psychonauts 2?
I hope they put me in Psychonauts 2. I mean, I know it's totally different people that are doing it now. I don't know if the Matador is going to be a figure in that game, but I can only hope, because I had such a blast doing it. And that, I want to say, I'm trying to remember. I mean, again, everything's
a while ago.
Everything's just kind of a blur. I can't remember if that was the first video game that I did, or it was one of the first.
I'm sure we could check your IMDb here and find out for you.
But even that, like, that only goes by release dates, and so I mean, a lot of that stuff was recorded even before development and all that. So I really don't know if that was one of but it was one of the first ones that I worked on. So it was like a totally different experience for me. Or not different, but a new experience for me at the time, and I loved it. Like it was fun. Like I grew up listening to things like the Jerky Boys and just imitating all the voices and just being able to be silly and be like do silly voices, and just be that was so much fun to me. And when they were explaining the whole concept of the game to me, I knew it was going to take off. I mean, because it was something that I would have liked to play. I was like, how cool is that? Okay, you're going into his head and you're like solving his issues, but like you have to actually. I mean, the whole concept rang so true to me. I was like, this is neat. This is going to be cool. And even if it's not popular, it's going to be a cool game. So I'm going to play it. Yeah, I mean it's funny how much it's changed, because my early sessions were all done in these like little tiny hole in the wall studios, where there'd be like one person kind of telling you this, and in the case of Psychonauts, it wasn't even somebody there. They were over the phone in their wherever the developer was. I think it was Majesco that did it, and wherever Majesco was located, they were there and they were on the phone. So it was just me and an engineer. And now it's just so different. It's in a lot of cases there's still that, but now you'll have these big studios and you'll have a lot of people and a lot of people talking, and there's just and now you'll actually have the benefit of sometimes having more than one actor in the space and acting opposite each other and all of that. But it was it was just, it was such a little session that I think that it kind of paralleled how the game was going to be. But it was little but mighty, you know, like everybody that went in and had a great time doing the characters that they did. And I mean, everybody that I know that was in that game would speak very highly of the experience they had and how much fun they had being those characters. And they really let us have a lot of freedom. They let us play around. So that, I hope that they put me in too. Even if it's something else, man, because it was such a fun game. It was such
exactly. Yeah, I think that would be cool to get at least some of the original cast from the first game, just to give it that flavor. Even if they go with the main characters as different people, just having you guys back, just because like we said, the cult classicness of that game. Young,
a little fan service,
Right, exactly. Young, you're up, buddy.
Yeah. So speaking of being in the same room as other actors during a voice acting session, did that happen with your sessions with Ocelot? Were you with some of the actors such as David Hayter, the mysterious Suzette Mignette, who played Eva, the ever charming Volgan? Did you get to interact with the actors who played these characters, or were you mostly by yourself?
It was pretty much all by myself. So
really?
It was, so it was really just Chris knowing either what the other actor had already done, or if they hadn't already done it, what she was going to get from the other actor. She was pulling the strings and making sure that all of our performances were consistent and that they played well off of each other, because we weren't in the same room. There was one exception. There was this scene, it's like a briefing at the end of the game, and in that one we had a couple people in the room, but I mean, even then it wasn't really like a real high stakes scene where you're really playing off of each other. It was just, I think it was done just more as a time saving thing.
Okay.
Gotcha.
But we were for the most part just by ourselves.
That's interesting. I know David got to work with some of the other actors in the same room. I think with Eva in particular, he got to work with Suzette Mignette a bit, as well as L'Oreal.
I hate saying that name. He said him and Laurie were in there all the time.
Yeah, but we still don't know who Suzette Mignette is. So
It's
still one of those great enigmas.
Man, I tell you.
Snake Eater. But,
we'll figure it out one day.
Yeah, one day.
We'll get to the bottom of it.
Yeah, it's crazy because I always love the banter and interactions that Snake has with Ocelot, and they play off of each other so well.
I even like the one with Eva and Ocelot as well.
Yeah,
I think those are fun.
That's pretty great too.
Yeah, just any interaction that Ocelot has with any person, just it's priceless. You just can't,
I love it. I love it.
Definitely. Ronin, you are up, sir.
All right, so my next question I'm gonna split this up into a set of questions, because I kind of want a little bit of clarification just in case, because sometimes IMDb can be wrong in some situations. So I want to clarify this first one. So according to your IMDb, it says that you were young Hercules in the 1997 film.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
wow.
That was me.
Jeez.
That was a pimply, greasy teenage me.
That is awesome. And you came back to do that role again in Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep?
I kind of did.
Okay.
Like, that voice was pre-voice change. So there's no way that when I came back to do it in Kingdom Hearts that it was going to sound the same.
Right.
So I basically pushed it as high as I could and hoped for the best. But that was me in both of those.
It kind of blew my mind, because I'm like, I played that game, and of course I watched the movie too, and I'm like, how this doesn't sound like the same person, even though it is. I can understand the long time span in between. It kind of blew my mind when I read that. I'm like, this isn't right. Let me check this. I'm gonna ask him personally to see if we got this right.
Yeah, so, that is absolutely right. Just one was pre voice change, and the other one was post.
Oh, man. I love that movie too, by the way. But
my favorite line in that is when they're like, "Somebody dial IXII."
Love that. Oh man. And then my tail into that question is, how do you go about reviving the voice for a character that you haven't done in over like 13 years, according to when this game came out?
Well, that one, again, it was something that I knew I wasn't going to be able to duplicate, but just because my physical
Right.
vocal cords and larynx,
Yeah.
everything has changed. So there's no way I was going to be able to do that.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, I just got to try to make him sound as young as possible and young as awkward as possible. So I really kind of went with more of the attitude of how he was going to be and try to make my voice sound as young as possible. To try to get close to that intention and what that character was like, but I didn't go in there trying to sound exactly like the old one.
Yeah.
I'm like, there's just no way.
There's no way that's gonna happen.
Yeah. Like I'd have just as hard of a time trying to be Linus, or it wasn't gonna happen.
Yeah, I was like, for that moment, it was kind of like a moment in my head. I'm like, how does? Wait a minute, am I reading this right?
Yeah, that was me.
That is awesome.
It's hard to wrap your head around, but
Yeah.
I want to talk a little bit about a little game that you did called Jack and Daxter.
That's a great
Yes.
That's a fantastic game.
back in the day. Can you tell us a little bit about how it was working on that? And then when you're finished, I'd like you to kind of explain how you get all these bomb-ass roles in games. Do you research the script of the game before you take it and be like, all right, that's a winner, this one's a loser? Do you choose what you pick, or do you just kind of tackle whatever's thrown your way and they just all happen to be amazing games?
Well, with Jack and Daxter, that one was I'm trying to like put the context in my head because it was all so long ago. But that one was just an audition that came in just like any other audition, and I read for it. I hadn't played the one right before it, and so I didn't know a whole lot about the series. They told me they told me afterwards that it was replacing somebody else, and and then you see online people are saying, "Oh, Josh Keaton sucks and he's the worst Jack ever," and blah blah blah, and it's like. And then other people are like, oh no, he's fine or whatever, and then it's that always happens. Yeah, but like when Spectacular Spider-Man first came out, like everybody was gonna say, oh, he's gonna suck, and the '90s Spider-Man is the only Spider-Man, and blah blah blah. And,
trust me, we know all about that around here in the
we do.
the Metal Gear community.
Yes,
sure. I mean, and you know what, people, I can't blame people because people are gonna be tied to the experience they had, and they want to relive that, and they want to relive that forever. Right. But I know that. I don't necessarily own any of these roles, and something that I've played, I'm not going to be the last person to play that. I probably wasn't the first person to play it. So you really just kind of take that in stride. But it, that one was really, I want to say for Jack and Daxter, I want to say there were actually some pre-rendered things already that we were kind of matching, that I had to kind of match. I was already kind of locked into a performance style based on what animation had already been done with that one, and I didn't really know a whole lot about what the character was. It was like a cold read where you just kind of go in and you have an idea for a voice, and they're like, okay, yeah, that's good, and then they just kind of direct you how they need you to be. And then as far as the other stuff and picking and choosing, the life of an actor is you kind of take the work wherever you get it.
Yeah.
Right.
I wouldn't say I'm at the level where I can just say, no, I'm not going to do that. The only exception would be like there's certain games that I probably wouldn't do.
Right. That's
if it was like an unnamed character in something, like just like a almost like a background voice that I know all of the sessions are going to be 4 hours of screaming at the top of my lungs. I'm probably not going to take that job because of the fact that I have other jobs that I have to do, and if I do that job, I'm going to blow out my voice, and then I'm done for the week.
Right.
And it's financially not worth it to do that. But I mean, in terms of all this other stuff, I mean, I wouldn't say that I pick and choose roles. I kind of look at each one as a challenge and a new experience, and like finding new things to do with them. And
right.
What was the other thing I was going to say? Now I'm brain farting, but
right. Well,
right.
I think the other part of my question is like when you see like when you get a voice acting role for a game like Jack and Daxter, do you ever like pre-look at what you're doing?
Yeah,
before?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. And especially I would say that being a gamer in general and a comic book fan and just a fan of most things geek, I already have kind of an encyclopedia in my head of lore and character and what some of these properties already are. Right. Metal Gear was kind of an exception. Like that was one of the ones that I didn't really know a whole lot about going into. And same thing with Jack and Daxter. But for the most part, like I kind of know what what that series is about, or what's happening, and it lets you kind of go in there with a knowledge already, like World of Warcraft. I was a World of Warcraft junkie for like 3 years, where like no, seriously, like I'm married now. I was only dating my now wife at the time. She almost left me because of World of Warcraft, because I was playing it like 16 hours a day. I wasn't doing anything with my life except for playing World of Warcraft. And I mean, I wouldn't shower, I wouldn't nothing, like nothing. I was out of shape, like everything. And but I really knew my World of Warcraft, and I really knew Azeroth, and I knew the lore, and I knew everything. So when it came time to audition for Anduin Wrynn and that, I was like, I know this character. I know what this dude's all about. I know who his dad is. I know who his family's about. Like I know, and going into the audition with that, you find more subtlety. You kind of go in there with a tone that you already know is going to work for that character because you know that character. You've been around it. And when I was Horde, I tried to kill him. But and I was so mad that I couldn't attack him. I was like, why don't flag him for combat? Come on, I don't care if it's kill him.
Right. Yeah, I was looking over just your portfolio, and I noticed this trend. I mean, you have games like Spider-Man and Onimusha and Nom 67, Metal Gear, Psychonauts, U.S. Navy SEALs, SOCOM games. Like the list just goes on of games that are hits, and there's not a lot of duds in here whatsoever. And I was just curious about, you just have that gamer instinct, and now that we know that that's basically where it comes from. I think that opens the door on why you land so many kick-ass roles. Is you got kind of an insider foot as opposed to somebody who maybe doesn't play games or isn't necessarily well versed in that.
Absolutely, anybody that wants to be a voice actor that wants to voice for video games, play video games, because that's kind of like ground zero for doing your research. That is it. It's if you're going to act in films, then you're going to want to watch films. You're going to want to see what these, or if you want to do TV and you want to do episodic TV or whatever, you're going to want to watch all these shows. Because let's just say you could have the same exact scene, right? The same exact scene, but it's going to be in a Resident Evil game versus the same exact scene in like, I don't know, a Jack and Daxter game. Yeah. You could have the same words. Intentions are going to be totally different.
Exactly.
Totally different. And it'd be like if you had the same scene for something in Breaking Bad versus like Modern Family. You could have the same dialogue, but it's going to be approached totally differently because of the context of the show. And if you don't know those going into it, then you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot.
Exactly. Yeah. Sure. Very cool. Well, thank you for that answer. Yong, you're up, sir.
Yeah. So, going back to young Ocelot, he actually made a brief appearance in Portable Ops towards the end of the game. So how was recording for that like versus recording for Snake Eater?
It was pretty much the same thing. They basically, that was one of the things where, since I was already the character and it was going to be the same character, I didn't even audition. It was more like my agent just called me and said, okay, you've been booked on this. It's just, it's going to be a portable version of the same game or the same character. And so they just set up a session and I went in and there was some dialogue and went in and knocked it out. I want to say that was maybe just one session.
Oh, really?
For the whole thing, yeah.
Yeah, Ocelot didn't have much of a... He had very important dialogue in Portable Ops, but it wasn't anything super extensive.
Sure.
Like he made one appearance towards the end of the game. And speaking of which, have you played any of the Metal Gear games?
Yeah, I played 3.
Okay.
And then now I finally got a next gen. I'm finally caught up on the next gen system, so I'm gonna play the current one now.
Oh, great! Awesome.
Let's see how Troy Baker treated your Ocelot.
There you go. Hey, I've heard that he did a good job.
Yeah. He the way his character was written is very subdued. It's very different, certainly.
Yeah.
He doesn't evoke that. Ocelot's he's kind of a weirdo. He's kind of whimsical.
Yeah,
and,
kind of.
And he's very chill in this new one. He's very down to earth. But there's also elements of Ocelot to him, but it's also definitely a very different and subdued Ocelot. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how you react to
definitely
this new Ocelot.
Yeah, I'm interested to see his take on it.
Make sure you shoot him with a tranquilizer dart. Just keep that in mind. He says
I will.
That's a good time.
Definitely do that. I'll definitely do that. You're saying Ocelot or Troy?
No, Ocelot. Do not.
I'm sure Troy would say lots of funny things if I shot him with a tranquilizer.
Well, do whatever you want. You go for it. Tell us how that goes.
Ronin, you are up with your next question, buddy.
No problem. So, Josh, my following questions from this point are probably going to revolve around your more recent work.
Okay.
In Mad Max, as you mentioned earlier, you took up the role of Jeet, who is
Yes.
I would say, in my opinion at least, he's a rather unorthodox character, and it's kind of hard to pin down at first, especially when you first meet him. He's kind of that person that if you don't really have a particular use for him, he may as well shoot you where you stand, basically.
Absolutely.
So, in your own words, since you were the character, how would you describe Jeet in a way for those that may not understand him as a character?
Jeet survives. That is pretty much him at his core. Jeet is going to survive.
There you go.
And I mean, you could say that about pretty much anybody in the Mad Max world,
Right.
but I mean, Jeet is going to survive, and he's not necessarily the biggest and strongest guy. He's got to outthink people.
Yeah.
And because of the fact that he's a bit deranged, he kind of goes on all these conspiracy theories, and I see him as like an extreme version of a prepper, where I mean he's got his stronghold. He's got and ultimately he takes care of his people.
Oh,
he
yeah,
does whatever he
definitely.
can, but he's kind of nuts, and that is probably what saved him in this world, because you got to be suspicious of everybody, and you gotta be prepared to give anybody a bolt to the brain, no matter what happens, and be okay with that decision, and then I mean, just the fact that he has these headaches, these crippling medical problem headaches, I think it's kind of a sickeningly ingenious thing that he did to embed the shards of metal in himself, so that he can twist them and get the pain from that to distract from the other pain. I mean, it's kind of like a weird metaphor for the whole world.
Right.
It's like, you're always going to have something that is just tearing you down, and the only way you could really deal with it is to do something almost equally bad. I mean, I saw him as like an extreme version of a prepper, and that's pretty much how I played him.
Oh, wow.
Very
Yeah,
cool.
it's like he's a very character that has a lot of contrast to him. When you first meet him,
And he's like a rat too. Like I see him,
Yes.
because rats always survive.
Yeah,
and I see him. I see even his face. I mean, the funny thing is he kind of looks like me. It's funny. Like I actually want to take a couple cosplay pictures as Jeet, because he ended up looking a lot like me. It was crazy.
Oh wow, yeah, that's crazy. It's like first approaching him, like I wanted to get an idea of what kind of character he was. When you first meet him, you drive the car up to the stronghold. He tells you to basically prove your worth, that they're going to shoot you where you stand. And then when you get inside, it's like he becomes this completely different character, where he looks out for his people, like you said.
Right.
But he's also, you can tell he's got that crazy side to him.
Yeah, he's right.
He
Like, you
might
never
kill
know
you.
when he's
You
going to fly.
never
out of
know.
hand.
Yeah, like you don't want to turn your back to him too often in certain scenarios. Is what I'm trying to say. But
That's right. That's right.
I think
Yeah.
that's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, he was a really fun character to play, and I mean, I got to do the mocap for a lot of it, and
It's awesome.
yeah, it was such a cool thing to. I think that was the first thing I ever mocapped.
Oh wow.
Cool.
That was because that game has been in production for years.
Yeah.
And I've done mocap since, but that was the first thing that I ever mocapped, and it was amazing to actually see that opening sequence and basically watch my movements. And
That's
watch my face on his face. And wait, that sounded really bad. It's a little Jeep makeout session. But I mean, just to see all of that and almost see myself in this movie, but skinned, like having basically wearing virtual costume and makeup. Like it was pretty crazy. That was a surreal experience to actually get to see that for the first time and see it in something that looked so realistic.
Yeah.
It was really, really a cool experience.
I love that
Technology,
aspect of
man.
games, though.
Technology.
Right?
Awesome. Yeah.
Now, Josh, you got a rare opportunity that not a whole lot of people get in their lifetime. You are in a couple Star Wars games, and you most recently did a mobile Star Wars game called Uprising
Yes.
I know it's not your first one. You did some voice work in what's becoming one of my favorite MMOs, the Star Wars: The Old Republic. It didn't list exactly what you did there, but it was listed.
Well, man, I did so many voices in that game. Because and I think everybody did. Because again, that was another game that was in production for years and years and years.
The budget on that game is huge.
Nuts. It was nuts.
Yeah.
I mean, like everybody in the industry was in that game.
Yeah.
And in many different facets. So I mean,
got David Hayter's The Jedi. So
yeah. I mean, I would go in and they would just hand me a bunch of stuff, and some of it would be 5 lines, some of it would be like 3 scenes, some of it would be like the entire session I'd be voicing that character. But
Gotcha.
and I mean, I went in, I probably did about 15, 20 sessions, and
Wow.
each one I'd be doing multiple characters. So
yeah,
there's a ton of stuff that I did in there, and I don't even know what I did. Because a lot of them were like when you'll play a game like Fallout or whatever, and you'll see like a settler or whatever, or like a raider, or somebody that's named but not really, they'll have a name but they don't really fit into a bigger part of the story. They have their own little self-contained thing. There's tons of that in this game, and so
right.
and it would just be on the fly. They would be like, okay, this guy's a droid. He something kind of like C-3PO, but not C-3PO. I'm like, okay. And so I'd do that, and then they'd throw something else at me. And this guy's a young, brash, cocky guy. This guy is scared out of his mind, and this guy's blah, blah, blah. And that would really be what you would get to do the scene. They'd give you about a sentence about the guy, and then you just kind of riff on that with the dialogue they gave you.
Sounds like a
Very
game
cool.
within itself. Just
one
character after another. Just in
It's
quick
one of the only
successions.
games that's fully voiced as an MMO. I think maybe the Elder Scrolls is one of the other ones. But when you're doing work on Star Wars, be it that game or this new one that's on the mobile, do you feel any differences now? That they're doing mobile games with voice acting and stories and all of that kind of stuff. Is it different recording process? Is it different like technology wise? Can you tell us a little bit about doing something for a console and doing something that's strictly mobile?
It's the same recording process. I would say that for console stuff, because there's so much, since it's such a bigger budget thing, there's probably more. It's a longer casting process if it's going to be a big character. But for smaller stuff, for secondary and minor characters, it's pretty much the same thing. You go through a very similar casting process where you have an audition script that's not very long. They give you a few different. They give you some dialogue in different emotional states just to kind of see what you're going to sound like, whether in the middle of a fight or in a more heartfelt moment or whatever. And then they cast you based off of that, and then you go in and you do you do it. So it's it amazes me that mobile technology has kind of blown up and gotten to the point where it can play these games already so quickly. And I mean, it just seemed, I wouldn't say it came out of nowhere, but I mean, just over the past few years, it
kind of has.
Pretty crazy. Yeah. That's cool to me. But I mean, the process is pretty much the same.
All right. Well, to end on that question, I would like to ask you if you could pick any Star Wars character to voice in a game, from any game or the movies, who would you pick?
I don't know if I'd want to pick something that's already like existing, because I think anybody that's done it has done that.
Yeah, I just mean as a fan, like it. Like I said, not a lot of people get to be in Star Wars games. There's only a select few that have voice acting in them. There's like Battlefront doesn't have any real voice acting, and some of the older ones don't. If you could be any Star Wars character, who's your character?
I'd like to be a young Sith Lord.
That would be very cool.
Whoever that may be, because I've played a lot of the the young Jedi type,
right.
The young hero, all that. So now once parts like Jeet and all that, like I'm seeing like the dark side now, and I'm like,
right.
It's a lot of fun.
Before from some other voice actors,
it's a lot of fun to play a bad guy, because Jeet's not necessary, because again, the bad guy doesn't think they're a bad guy. So there's that whole moral ambiguity there, and finding out why they are how they are, but they're not going to see themselves as bad. It's you very rarely see somebody who is evil just for the sake of being evil. They all have a motivation, and it's fun to find it when it's not necessarily good. So but yeah,
I'm kind of glad you said that, because I was making a point the other day to one of my friends that actually in Star Wars: The Old Republic, I don't think any of the Sith people sound very Sithy, if that makes any sense. They all got like a high tone British accent, and I was like, they really kind of need a couple different voice options for people who maybe want a more dark or scary Sith
Hey,
person.
now British people can make the
Well,
greatest villains in movies
they-
and
they-
games.
The
Just
dark
saying.
side, mate.
They really can, but that's how they're kind of voiced in the Star Wars game. They're all real high, like high pitched and high toned. And
Well, you've read the Jar Jar Sith theory, right? Like,
I've
I
read-
would love to hear what he sounds like when he finally does his turn. Like, if that theory was real. Like, if he all of a sudden just finally,
yeah.
drops the Misa and says, "No, I'm Jar Jar," and he's like, "Oh, this is a totally different person." Like,
It's very cool.
I would love to hear that.
We're gonna petition you to be a Sith in the Star Wars Old Republic. Hopefully, you'll have some more work in that game. It's always expanding and stuff. So, I'm sure you will. Yong, you're up, buddy. Getting kind of towards the end. About to hit our hour mark. Just saying.
Yeah. Sure. So, for this question, in your own experience, how would you describe Ocelot's relationship to Naked Snake, aka Big Boss? Because I think it's one of the most interesting dynamics in the game. Ocelot really seems to be he really looks up to Big Boss. What do you think that is? Where do you think that stemmed from?
This is going to be a tough one for me because, again, like, I didn't really go into it having all kinds of
Right.
all kinds of information, but I mean, it definitely seems almost like a father-son relationship, and it's it's tough for me to really.
Your dad shoots at you on a regular.
Yeah,
basis.
yeah, but I mean, there's always that tension, and it's, I mean, any kind of the kid's always gonna wanna to prove to the dad that he's as good or better, and has exceeded what he's learned, and yeah, I mean that's really probably how I would see it.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Sure thing.
Ronan, you are up, bud.
All right, so now I know this series of games, I should say, isn't quite finished yet, and I know the recent episode just came out this month. But King's Quest, you're young Graham in the protagonist in the story, yeah.
Good old King's Quest.
Yeah. So, like, what sort of character would you describe him as? Since you bring up the voice in him in this series, and can we expect to see perhaps an evolution of him throughout the rest of the series? If you could talk about that kind of thing, of course.
I can't really talk about like the rest of the series, but
okay.
I see again. He's exuberant. He's excited. He's excited about the possibility of being a king, and he has this dream and he wants to follow it. It's what was the question again?
Just like, what sort of character would you describe him as overall?
He's I would say that he's got a lot of heart. He's got a man. It's hard to really to really go from there. He's an adventurer, man. He wants to go out and he wants to see the world and he wants to explore it and have a great time, and that's really, he's wide-eyed and he wants to. He's a good character though. I mean, he ultimately has goals. He's again, it's hard to really talk talk about it without necessarily going a little too far into where
that's
it's going.
Totally fine. That's totally fine. That's understandable. Like for me, like I of course I played the first episode and I haven't jumped to the second one just yet, but I see a lot of like, excitement in this character and the fact that he's willing to do what's necessary for him to become the king that he wants to be, right? And I appreciate that, and it kind of shows in the voice acting as well, especially when it comes to your voice. And I think it pays off in spades in terms of for what it does for the game. But
there's an innocence to him. There's a lot of innocence to him, and sometimes that can kind of work against him because not everybody is as nice as he is.
Yeah.
But he also learns really quickly, and he he knows he's not stupid. You know, you can obviously keep running him off of cliffs and stuff, and you know, make him say all the funny stuff. But he learns pretty quickly, but he's got a good heart, and he ultimately, I mean, I see him as somebody who always tries to do what's right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Side note, I'm so happy to see Sierra make games that don't suck.
Seriously.
Like,
I'm so
God.
happy to see Sierra's logo on stuff.
Right?
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
They made some of some of my favorite games as a kid, and then it just really fell off, and then now it seems like they're making some good quality games again.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm sure that's a cool company to work for. This is my last question for you, Josh, before we got a couple of community questions for you, and I think Young has one more. And then guys in the chat that are watching, if you guys have any questions for Josh, feel free to ask now. We'll ask as many as we can. We don't have a ton of time left, but we will take as many as we can fit in here. But Josh, you have a lot of games in your resume here. Can you pick like a top 3 that you're really passionate about, or characters that stood out to you as a voice actor that maybe you feel like not necessarily you own that character, but maybe you are that character? Give me like a top 3 out of
hold on.
games.
I'm actually going to pull up my IMDb here so I can have it more in my head. And this is video games, yeah.
It doesn't necessarily have to just be video games. It could be characters from.
Oh, okay.
Some of your,
well, I would have to say that my number
TV
one
as
would
well.
be Spider-Man, because that was my favorite character growing up, and that was the comic book I consistently read, and I really feel a kinship to Peter Parker because I really feel like I had a similar, I mean, obviously without the superpowers and without the spider stuff, a similar double life in that I was not a cool kid in high school. I was short, I was scrawny, I was gone a lot because I was doing entertainment industry stuff. And so I didn't really have a lot of friends in high school. And then there's also, I wouldn't say it's jealousy, but like people, you know, when you're off doing stuff like that, they're like, oh, you think you're awesome because you're doing that. I'm like, no, I go to this school. Like, let's go have lunch or whatever. But yeah, I mean, and you're short, you get picked on and all that. And so, but then once I was out of that school, cause that's when you're pegged as a dork from middle school, you're a dork through high school, no matter how you change. But outside of school, I had a whole different group of friends that were in the entertainment industry, and it was that was kind of more who I hung out with, and I didn't have that stigma there. So that was kind of where I got to be my Spider-Man, and every time I went back to school, I was Peter Parker again.
That's very cool.
So like I really felt
I love that
kinda,
analogy, man. That's really
no, I mean I felt that double life, and so that's I really identified with that, and so I will always have like this affinity for Spider-Man and Peter Parker.
awesome. All right, so that's one.
That's one. I'm really Jeet's starting to grow on me a lot because of the fact that I'm also somewhat, I wouldn't say I'm a prepper, but I was a Boy Scout and I like to be prepared, and you know, I like making things and building things and doing all kinds of stuff. So almost to the point where I can kind of get into some, oh, how would this fit if the world ended? And you know, like it's you know, I like seeing that. So I definitely like Jeet.
That's cool. That's cool. You should check out our sponsors at BattleBox. They make some cool ass prepper survivor gear.
And honestly, like I really had a blast playing Ocelot because
I think it's a good top 3.
I mean, who wouldn't like to be that cocky guy and who and also a bit eccentric. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, he has any weapon available to him, and he loves the revolver. He loves the experience of it.
Yeah.
It's not so much about having the most firepower. It's about the experience of the weapon and the gun and the reload time and I can respect that. I can respect that. It's not always about having whatever is technologically the latest. It's about what makes you happy. And that's such a cool way to look at things. And I mean, even going back to the relationship with Snake, it's like the fact that he's able to almost with an enemy have such a close kinship. He's such a complicated character, man, and it's but we all are, and we all have these weird friendships and people that we can't get rid of and can't get out of our lives, and people that we're hopelessly drawn to and tied to, and he's a great example of that.
Very cool.
very
I think
good
you nailed that. All the ends of the spectrum. You got a good guy, you got a bad guy, and you got a middle ground with Jeet, who's kind of a little bit of both.
Yeah.
I think that's
Ocelot, I don't know if Ocelot,
he tortures people, Young. He's a bad guy. Okay.
well.
Yeah, but some people need to be tortured.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. Jack Bauer tortures people. Does that make him
Right.
a bad guy? He saves
Right.
the
Oh
day.
no! Oh
You know what I'm
no!
They can't all be bad guys, Daly. Come on.
He killed Marines. He's a bad guy. Okay.
Yeah, that is pretty bad.
But he's a bad guy in a good way. You know, he's that bad guy that you love. So
Yeah.
I definitely think that's
See, Big Boss can kill Marines too, and Ground Zeroes. So
That's
you
true,
can
too.
make
You
him
don't-
a bad
but
guy.
you don't have to. Okay, you could trank everybody. I mean, or you could be like me and never get spotted ever anytime you play Metal Gear.
Sure.
Oh,
Sure.
okay.
So that's
Yeah, whenever I'm playing games like that, I like to be the invisible death.
Same.
yeah.
Same.
Nobody knows I was there. There's just
Yep.
bodies everywhere.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yep.
Silent assassin. That's what I'm all about.
Exactly.
Yep.
Young, you got the last question, and then we'll move into
Sure. So for this, for my last question, are there any future projects that you're involved in that you can either tell us about or hint about or tell us when we're going to hear about it?
Well, there are some things that are out now. I'm actually doing a bunch of different roles on a show on Netflix called Mr. Peabody and Sherman, which is a revamp of the old show from the 60s.
Heard about that.
And dude, it's so much fun.
I didn't know
it's
you were in
such
it.
a fun show. Yeah, I mean, and the
Wow.
thing is that like I'm playing just all kinds of weird characters. Like it's nothing like what I usually do, which is so much fun because they're just out there. So and it's a crazy show. It's a crazy show. It's like equal parts old Peabody and Sherman mixed with like a little bit of Schoolhouse Rock. It's so much fun. And do you guys remember? Did you ever see
Schoolhouse
an
Rock.
animated thing called Asterix?
Yes,
a-
actually, yeah.
Here's a
Of
European
course you
cartoon.
have,
Yeah.
Ronan. Of course you have.
It's an awesome cartoon. If
Watch
you-
a lot of cartoons, okay?
it was a comic book, a cartoon. I mean, I would definitely say to check it out because you'll dig it.
Yeah.
And that is pretty much what the Peabody and Sherman show is. It's just a great mix of that. There's a lot of great music in it. It lampoons historical figures relentlessly. It's funny. It's funny, and everybody in the show has a great time on it, and lots of who's who from the VO industry in it. And Chris Parnell is the best Mr. Peabody I've ever heard. So, yeah. So I mean that's out right now. I actually have a couple Netflix shows that are going to be coming out. One of them I really can't talk about yet though, but it's going to be
all right.
awesome.
All right.
I'm doing ADR on it right now, which is for those that don't know, it's after you've actually already recorded all the dialogue. Once the animation comes back, you go in and you pick up things that might not have worked from
Okay.
the original records, or if there's like big fight scenes, you'll go in and you'll do the sounds to picture because it's more accurate doing it that way versus them just having some sounds that you did that might not match up with the way the animation came back. So
Right. Okay, so it's an animation.
it's an animated
Okay,
series, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, and it's
We won't
gonna
say
be
too
awesome.
much more, as we don't no fines over here.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Might
yeah.
getting in trouble.
We heard some stuff in the VO community about the voice actors getting fined for this and that and all that kind of stuff now. So we don't want to push any of that kind of stuff on
Yeah.
you. But I think
Any
it's always
games?
really. I think it's cool when you have.
I'm working
guy
on a
like
couple,
him that's-
but again, yeah, the games are things I can't talk about. Those are
Oh,
locked
no.
up.
Oh wow.
Locked up tight on NDA, man. Until they
All
tell
right.
me I can say something, I can't.
Right.
Yeah.
Sure
that's
thing.
I think it's real cool though when you have a voice actor like you mentioned, it's in like TV and games, and so you've got like a lot of different things to talk about, not really one dimensional. But we are moving into the community questions now.
Sweet.
Yongs, these are short, one sentence, two sentence maybe answers for me. That way that we don't, stay on them too long. Yong's got a couple. Ronan, if you want to check the chat, I see a bunch of them flooding in over there.
Yeah, I can see him.
Pick out ones that maybe aren't duplicates. Yong, but you can go ahead and start taking yours.
Sure. This first question is from Nick McGill from YouTube. He asks, was there any part of the Snake Eater script that confused you or made you scratch your head upon looking at the script for the first time? Stuff like, I don't know, Ocelot juggling pistols, or repelling wasps by flipping pistols around, or the meow, the famous meow. Anything there that confused you or made you sort of do a double take?
Those were actually the things that made the most sense to me. I think everything else made me scratch my head, and I really had a hard time kind of, especially if you haven't, not being familiar with the first two and just jumping into the third one. Like there was a lot of stuff that I had to think, what's going on here? What's happening? Who's this person?
Yeah.
But in terms of juggling the pistols, why wouldn't you juggle pistols? And if your name is Ocelot, why wouldn't you mew?
That's a fair point. That is a fair point. Orange Vision from YouTube. Oh, I think we already answered this. How much of your performance as Ocelot was influenced by Patrick Zimmerman? And you said that you actually didn't listen to any of that prior to your playing the role of young Ocelot, correct?
Right. And then I was actually nervous to listen to it, because I was like, man, what if I just effed it all up, man? I don't know if it's a family show or.
No,
So
no,
you can say
go
whatever
ahead,
you want.
say whatever you want.
It's our
I was
last
like,
episode.
what if I just totally fucked it all up, and this was like totally not the way to do it. But no, I mean, I can totally see how the two meld together. So
Gotcha.
I actually felt better when I went and I listened to that. I was like, oh, okay, I can see that. Cool.
TJ94 from YouTube asks, which gaming series would you like to be involved in that you haven't done already?
I would like to. Oh, dude, Fallout.
Nice.
I'm a big Fallout fan, and I've done nothing on any of them, and that makes me sad.
There are still some DLCs
We'll
along
fix
the
that.
way, and
Let's change that.
I'm sure Fallout
Like
5.
as soon as we're done, I'm going back and I'm playing it some more.
You've been
Like,
playing it
that's-
lately?
Oh yeah.
Nice.
That's kind of what I've been. And my wife plays it in the other room. Like we're both just nuts about the game. Right?
That's awesome.
What kind of character build do you have going on?
Right. It's funny. Like I didn't really put a lot of thought into my build, so
Sure.
I would say no. But every time I go to pick a perk, it's always going to be like I'm trying to do it as close to me as possible. Like if I were in the post-apocalyptic world, me, Josh,
Right.
how would I approach things? And I like science. I like building things. So a lot of my stuff initially went to gun nut and armorer and scrapper, because it's all about getting those rare materials so that you can make better stuff with it. The science perks, and a lot of persuasion stuff too.
Sure.
And sneaking, because I'm not the biggest guy. I'm not the biggest guy, so I got to be Jeet, man. I got to be the craftiest guy.
Everybody's big when you climb into the power armor.
That's true. That's true.
Very true.
But yeah, like I said, I like being that unseen wind that just
Yeah.
kind of clears out a place and nobody knows where he came from.
Very
Yep.
cool.
Very cool. Actual role playing going on here. Love it.
Yeah.
We'll tweet
That's
at Brian and Courtney and have them get you jobs for the next one.
Right.
Awesome.
Last question is from Big Boss Hero from YouTube. What was your most memorable line or scene that you remember in Metal Gear Solid 3?
The bitch is wearing perfume. Because back then I was like, can I say bitch in a video game? Like, is this like really? Oh man, that was so much fun for young me to say.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Everything that spews out of Ocelot's mouth is just... I feel like every line he has could be an iconic line.
Yeah, he has no bad lines in that.
He's
game.
very quotable. He absolutely is.
He very
Definitely.
much is.
That explains why we've got like the most quotes for this character as opposed to most of the voice actors. We had like 2 or 3. With Ocelot, we got like 5 or 6. Ronin, chat questions. We only got a few of these. Josh, so we're pretty close to the end here.
Oh yeah, it's cool, man.
So this one comes from Penguin Jutsu in the chat here. This kind of touches back on the young Hercules
She gonna ask him
in the movie. I'd be surprised. The young Hercules and the movie, and of course the young Hercules and Birth by Sleep. She says, "Did you enjoy coming back to play young Hercules again after it being so long since you reprised that role?"
Oh, absolutely. Like whenever, dude, it's like one of the greatest things as a voice actor to just get a call and say, "Hey, you're booked on this," and I'm like, "Oh, sweet, I didn't even have to audition." And especially when it's something that you've already done and they're calling you back for it, it's like sweet because they could have always just like hired somebody else to do it.
Right.
And the fact that they called me and had me do it, that's always like one of the most wonderful things to hear. Now, and I did have that initial fear of like, I hope they don't expect me to sound exactly like I did when I was like 16 years old before a voice change, because it's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
So, there was that, but they were totally cool about it. And it was really just about getting it as young as possible and as close to the intention of the character. And I mean, that's not hard to do.
Yeah. Right.
So, but yeah, no, it was awesome. It was great to go back and do that.
That's awesome. All right, so the next question here comes from Jim Hausman in the chat. He says, "Loved your appearance on I Know the Voice documentary." He says, "What do you think of that documentary in general?
I loved it.
Would it be something you're interested in doing again?"
Oh yeah, yeah. I think that I loved it because, for the most part, like, and it's starting to change, but voice actors are really kind of the unsung heroes of the entertainment industry, where we're in so many things and you just never know, and you don't know who those people are. Part of me enjoys it. Part of me enjoys having that kind of anonymity where it's like, depending on where online I am, people will know who I am, but I can still walk around and nobody knows who I am. Right. I'm kind of like my Fallout character. But yeah, it's like, I think that documentary really shows a lot of what we get tasked to do, and what our lives are like, and what our process is like, and I think it's a nice window into that world, and I think it was very well done, and I have so many great friends that are in it, and it was really nice to see that.
What is this documentary called?
Yeah, I haven't.
I Know That Voice.
I know that voice.
I'm gonna check that out, because that's one of the things with this show, Josh, is where we, like 99% of our guests are voice actors. We've only had a couple that aren't. And we always we think it's really important that people understand what you guys do. And we say this constantly. We understand that, a lot of this stuff has to do with, direction and writing. But, if you don't nail the voice for that character, it can be very unforgettable. There's a lot of voiced characters out there that don't really fit, or that sound like shit, or they don't deliver the right message and that kind of stuff.
That sound like shit.
There really is, like, you know me, man. I'm just gonna say it like it is. And
classic.
When you guys come in here and you deliver these performances and you make it so memorable, it's kind of like you were saying earlier about sometimes when you have to recast other voice actors, some people are attached to that particular person who brought that character to life for them.
Sure.
So I think it's really important that you guys do get the credit you deserve and stuff like that. And we were real big in talking to the couple people we had on about the Performance Matters hashtag that was floating around a couple months now, and it's really important that you guys get the recognition and stuff that you deserve.
Absolutely.
For bringing these amazing characters to life for a lot of people.
That's awesome, man. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome. Ronan, we got any more?
Oh yeah, I got a fun one here. Okay. This one comes from SSJ3 Super Saiyan Goku 3, of course.
Damn.
So has he gone Super Saiyan?
I suppose so. He's got
over 9,000. I can
there,
tell you
so
that.
Now I'm scared.
I'm glad you're taking this guy's question, because he's actually sending us all some Metal Gear memorabilia.
Yeah.
Oh wow, awesome.
Yeah, that's cool that he's here today. Hey, buddy.
And he has a real fun question here. He says, "Can we start a petition to remake MGS3 and have you come back as Ocelot?"
Hey man, I'll do it. I mean, they could even mocap it. That'd be great.
You need to practice spinning guns then.
I gotta practice spinning guns.
Yeah, there you go.
Gotta practice spinning guns.
Yeah. Good luck with that.
Do all your own stunts in there, man.
There's a guy on YouTube that does it, and
I saw that.
Yeah, he's amazing.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's got that video where it's like synced up to the gameplay, and you can see.
Yeah, you
like,
need to contact him pronto.
Yeah, he's got to give me some lessons. That guy's amazing.
Absolutely.
That's pretty good. Yep.
He's beyond pretty
Can't
good.
help it.
We have any more?
That stance.
That. I love that line.
Very good.
I think that might be it for the community questions. I think all of them are kind of like repeats and stuff like that. So that about does with me.
Perfect. Well, Josh, we really, really appreciate you stopping by, man. We've got a couple quotes for you to say down here. I think they're all Ocelot.
Oh yeah.
I
mean, he's too memorable.
He definitely is star of the show today. So, Young, if you can send those to Josh over Skype for me, that way I don't put his Skype info out here on the show.
Okay, yeah. Let me.
Is there anything special you have to do, Josh, to get into your Ocelot voice, or is it a natural thing for you?
It's younger me, so I got to be up a little bit.
Okay.
Is there any way I could send these to you a bit later? Just because I mean, I'm still recovering from the voice thing, and I've been talking for about an hour, so I'm definitely not full right now. So I would like to, maybe tomorrow I'll get these to you.
Yeah, I think that's fine. Yeah,
okay, awesome.
These are normally for our YouTube edit when we're done. The show's live, and then we edit in post. And
okay.
Up. So that'll actually work out pretty perfect.
Awesome.
And I'm sure
I just don't want to sound all scratchy.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
everybody will understand. I mean, they didn't hear the same story we did, but Josh is recovering from a little sickness here. So we'll have those done for you tomorrow. Josh, before we get you out of here, buddy, is there anything that you can tell us, like ways to keep up with you? You got a website. You got obviously we have your Twitter up here where people can follow you to keep track of your tweets and stuff like that. But do you have?
Yeah, I'm pretty much everywhere. I'm on Facebook. It's Josh Keaton's page, and then at Twitter at Josh Keaton on Twitter. I have a Tumblr, Josh Keaton, and I think you could get to everything from joshkeaton.com. I think there's links to everything on there. Awesome. I really got to keep up and update my shit because I've been slacking. And then I have a YouTube channel which has a few things on there, some Spidey meme videos and whatnot. But yeah, there's a Christmas song on there.
Awesome.
Yeah, I sang the Charlie Brown Christmas song. Christmas time is here.
Wow.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Somebody, you'll be happy to know somebody actually posted your boy band video in our chat.
Yes,
awesome.
There was quite a few posts of that actually
earlier. So guys, check out his website. You said it was joshkeaton.com?
Yeah, that's right.
Go there, then follow the links anywhere where you want to keep up with Josh. Give him a follow on Twitter. And Josh, we here at the Codec got to thank you for being our last interview of the year, man. It was very, very fun to talk to you about all of the different stuff, Metal Gear to Ninja Gaiden to Psychonauts. Everything's been real fun. Hopefully, with the new year, you'll have some new projects, and maybe we'll invite you back in a few months to see where you're at, what's going on with you, and stuff like that.
I look forward to it, man. I had a great time with you guys.
Awesome. Anything else for Josh before he leaves, Young?
Thank you. I know you're sick, and it's just nice that you still took the time to talk to us. We pray for a healthy recovery, and so you can get back in the game and do your thing. And just thank you for bringing just so many amazing characters to life, and
thank you so much.
Ocelot for me. He's just holds a very special place in my heart, especially the young, cocky Ocelot. Makes me smile just every second he's on screen.
Awesome.
And just an absolute pleasure to talk to you.
Awesome lot.
Awesome lot.
Ronan.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you as well for joining us. I really appreciate you taking the time to sit down and talk with us, and hopefully you end up feeling better soon. And thank you for bringing out all of my favorite characters and favorite franchises to life as well, from Ninja Gaiden to Kingdom Hearts and Jeet and Mad Max. Love all those characters, by the way, and I really appreciate the work you've done for them and the fact that you brought these characters to life. And thank you once again for being our final interview of the year. And we hope to talk to you again soon.
Absolutely. Thank you guys so much.
All right, Josh, you have a good day, man. Have fun playing Fallout.
All right, you too.
We'll talk to you soon, buddy. Have a good one.
See you.
Bye.
Bye.
Take care.